We'll wait.
All right, everyone. Well, I'd like to welcome you to the Committee of the Whole work session today, Tuesday, October 18th at 10:30. And on our agenda, we first have the minutes from the last 2 months, and I would like to recognize April Zimmer for doing a great job with those minutes, and thank you for helping us catch up. We really appreciate that. That's a lot of work. We're very fortunate today to have a presentation from the Cook County Historical Society. Both Maria and Katie are here with us to share some good news about what's happened in the past and what's maybe on the horizon for the future. So we'll turn it over to you.
Hello, I'm Katie Clark. I haven't met everybody. I'm Director of Operations.
I'm Maria Erickson. I'm the president of the Historical Society.
We're just here to give you a little overview of especially this past year and how it's been going.
Katie, you said you haven't met everybody.
Oh.
Should we do introductions real quickly?
I'm Dave Mills. I'm the Commissioner for District 3, which is Fifth Avenue West and west of Cascade River.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Stacy Hawkins, Commissioner from District 2, which is to the east of Commissioner Mills. Judy Storley, Commissioner for District 5, which includes Woodson, Coffee, Shorter, and Pike Lake.
I'm Bob Swallowson, District 1, Far East End.
You know each other.
Ann Sullivan, District 4 Commissioner, your district, so you're familiar with that. All right.
Nice to meet everybody. I think you all have in your packets the slideshow that's going to go up, but we can just kind of go through it. First of all, it's just our mission. Been a historical society since 1924, 98 years. Just all about the collecting and preserving and sharing. The recovery from COVID has been just a little rough. There's just been not only the recovery from COVID, but a lot of transition. The executive director, many of you might have known Carrie Johnson. She went down to Winona. There's been a lot of transition also with kind of the financial, with bookkeeping, and we've been trying to catch up with that, and everything's running fine just as far as tracking and reporting. We're trying to get back on track after losing records with a firm recently. 2021, much was on hold still. Volunteer team was kind of drastically reduced, basically. 2022, we opened back up all of our sites again, and we kind of refreshed the passport program. We got all new materials. We've been recruiting new volunteers. It's been a very busy year. We got JHP. They've expanded their gift shop, and they've brought in a lot more local regional artists, not only for Artists of the Month, but also just regular exhibits and in the gift shop, where people are coming up with new ways to meet over at JHP as well. We've got some local groups that hold their meetings there, and they've been having some more events and demonstrations and some small talks. These are just some of the 2022 highlights. Museum, and we just in the museum itself, we brought everything down to be accessible. We felt, there were a lot of people that couldn't make it upstairs. We had some volunteers that couldn't make it upstairs, so everything's down accessible. We had a big project where we digitized almost all of our oral histories that have been stored on cassettes, and so all those are now in the process of being transcribed, and then those can be made available. We have a lot of people that contact us for research, or authors and people in the community looking for stories, and so now we can offer those. We have those searchable now. Let's see what else. We also have this multimedia kiosk that we've been working with Hamline University. They have these kiosks all up and down the shore telling stories from other historic heritage sites and historical societies, and that was a lot of fun to bring in, and hopefully we can work with them and get some more content on there. We started 2 after-hour events. We have Culture Crawl and Trivia Night that we offer. We have a lot of locals that come to these. The Culture Crawl, we're expanding hours a bit, one night a month. And we have a pop-up exhibit, something new that we share at the museum. JHP, it's always their new show. It's the last Friday of the show. People enjoy that. And trivia is just another way to get us out. We share a little bit of history, and then it's also just to getting the staff wanted to just kind of be in front of the public again. And people, we got a good regular crowd that comes to that. We've done some updating on the buildings. At the museum, we did some landscaping, just kind of make a nicer area for people to hang out and a little green space there. The JHP also had all its log work blasted and preserved and sealed again. In Bali Blacksmith Shop also, we got the siding done on. We're continuing on the scope of work of that. That was approved by the Minnesota Historical Society in 2019. There's also just been a lot of, there's been an increase in visitor traffic. And just museum alone, we had about 2,800 this year compared to about 1,700 last year, so it's increasing. So. Community impact. We've done work quite a bit with Minnesota Children's Press. They're writing all those children's books, so they've come in to do research, and then sometimes they'll have their, she has an intern, Sammy, that comes and does research as well, so we've been helping with the primary source and the collections on that. We've done a few more school tours, both Harbor History Tour and of the History Museum. Just more work also with authors and researchers, both at our sites and the collections. We've been able this year to kind of bring back some of our small talks and demonstrations. We got our blacksmithing demonstrations back up at Bolly's as well. We've also been talking with some businesses that are interested in getting historical images that they can display in their stores and bars. Partnering with local businesses on events activities. This is kind of working with people on the events that we have. Gunflint Tavern, we worked quite a bit with Lions Club, a bit with Fisherman's Picnic, the other historical societies and heritage sites in the Passport program. We started a study with the other historical societies, an alliance study for a year. Shorter Area Historical Society got a grant, and we're all working together, and we hired Superior Design and Planning to help us on a year-long study, figure out how we can share resources or collaborate. And then also JHP, just again bringing in more people that can participate in the art scene over there. New events, kind of went over some of this. We have a new gala. We're trying to keep the focus on history, trying to bring everybody together. Plein air we've had before, it's just becoming bigger and bigger, and we had a 5-year contract with Outdoor Painters Minnesota that'll be coming up in a year or two. We're gonna have to kind of redesign how that's managed, or if we partner up with somebody else in the community again. Culture crawl, I went over, trivia night. Basically, we're also looking to integrate some more site-specific events, kind of not have. We need to pivot a little bit, possibly not have so many passive, just open hours at the sites. Maybe focus more on events where we can partner with other organizations and events in the community. Just kind of have more focus on events instead of just the open hours. That might help better. And you want to talk to the future a bit?
Plans for the future, we have partnered or hired Next in Nonprofits, who is hopefully, well, they're going to, not hopefully, they're going to be able to bring us in the next level of grant requests. They are currently working on looking at appropriations and bonding from the state to get the money to maintain our 5 sites and do some major upgrades that need to be done there. They also are looking at a number of other grants. We've applied to Blandin. Who else have we applied to?
MARDAG,
MARDAG.
ARDC,
Yeah.
National Endowment for Humanities.
Looking at the Institute of Museum and Library looking at them for grants. And the grants we're looking at are probably mostly over $50,000 to $250,000, $500,000, to get us to that next level where we can maintain all these sites and provide some good programming. We haven't gotten any of the grants yet, but mostly those organizations, when we've gone back and asked, what was up with our application, they just were like, well, we've never heard of you before. Your application was perfectly fine. And so I think it's building those relationships. We've done with the new, all the new legislators that we're going to have, we are doing what we can to meet with each of them. And then we also were looking at putting together a meeting with all of them, or if we need to have separate meetings, in addition to when they come to the county and going and meeting and talking with them. I missed the Republican gathering this last weekend, but the weekend before I did meet with Amy Klobuchar, Jennifer Schultz, and Rob Eklund, and got in front of them and was able to give our information to them, and all of them were very supportive of the work that we're doing and what's going on. So the next steps coming up here, we broke Katie, and so she's resigning and is going to be focusing, I think, on her metalworking business and the creative side of things, and so we are very sad about that, but hoping to get some good. We're advertising right now for a new executive director, and hoping to have someone by the end of the year to be able to fill that role. Katie is not, she hasn't told me that she has an end date yet, but hopefully there will be some overlap there so that it's we're not left hanging in the wind.
Especially on a day like today.
Especially on a day like today, we'd be hosed. So in the coming year, working on with Next and nonprofits, they will be handling a lot of the communication, building the donor funder base. We've started and stopped this process quite a few times in the past, and this time it's moving forward. We have, with all the transitions that we've had in the past few years, it's nice that this coming year we sort of have like, here's what our schedule is going to be, instead of, oh yeah, we have to do that. So the gala was wonderful this last year. We made $5,000 to $6,000 on that event, which is pretty good for the first year. I was hoping to break even. And people really enjoyed it, and they were surprised that they enjoyed it. And so looking forward to doing that again in the coming years, and having that be a regular big fundraiser for us. Yeah, I think that's about it. Does that about cover it? Does anyone have any questions for us?
Commissioner Hawkins.
Yes, thank you. Nexus Nonprofits, can you spell that?
Next in nonprofits.
Next, see, that's why
Yeah.
Next in Nonprofits. Never heard of that, so I wrote it down here.
Yeah.
Second question I wrote here with a question mark. Glen Air, I thought that was art colony.
No.
Used to be.
Used to be.
Used to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it has been like 10 years
Yeah, I think
that it's
Neil
been
Sh-
at Johnson Heritage
Sherman.
Host.
Yeah, Neil Sherman started it, I think it was 20 years ago, because this was their 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our colony let go of it, yeah, about 10 years ago, and then there was a 5-year contract. And that's almost up, so we imagine
It
we
just
can be.
seems to me like that would fit with the art colony more than the historical center. That's how closely I follow art colony. I used to when we donated to it, but I haven't done it for a while, so.
Yeah.
Cool.
We can see where,
That's nice.
if Outdoor Painters of Minnesota want to continue, it's the one later right now that, about 5 years is about all she could commit to, but, either we re-up the contract with them, or maybe it's a chance to work again with Art Colony, possibly.
Yeah, and we have really good relationships with the art colony, North House, the other historical societies, and so I feel like we're in a good place for doing partnerships and being able to handle the bigger events, being able to combine staff when available.
And, I'll take this more.
No.
I think it's a good thing. I love seeing the artists out there, and I like the events that you put on. I'm just wondering, sometimes it just seems there's like duplication of services, whether historical society or the art colony doing their art festival, or the visitors bureau during their festival. And we're all donating to help all these things. I'm just surprised that some things would fall to the historical society instead.
Yeah, I don't know how that all happened, if there was kind of a falling out or.
I think it had to do with Johnson Heritage Post hosting this space, having the space to
Correct.
host a larger venue.
That's
And
absolutely right.
then it just switched the administration. I think they paired up with Johnson Heritage Post, which then came under the Historical Society. And it was kind of the transition there.
Yeah, counterintuitive, but that does make sense. I think if that space is being used, then
Mhm.
better not have someone else over
Yeah.
Well, I'm just amazed at the COVID response with this organization, having been the liaison for the county as they, went through all of this, just from being shut down to how they opened very safely and gradually and built their programs to think of going from 1,700 to 2,800 people walking through the door and participating in history and art and all that there is to offer is just amazing. And I think that one of the big pieces is Katie has done an amazing job in her role. When Carrie left, we were kind of in the middle of looking for an executive director. Everything stopped. And Katie and Maria and the new board has really done an amazing job of moving the organization forward during really difficult times. The gala was phenomenal. The theme was the Roaring '20s, and from costuming to art to newspaper articles to artifacts, it was just incredible what was put on. And given the fact that there was COVID, to have the numbers show up, and people wore masks when they came in, and they had done a great job of separating tables so there was space. It was just really handled in a very, very thoughtful way. So I want to thank you both and the board for the good work that you're doing and for the vision that you have for the future. We drive down the hill into the harbor, and what do we think about? We think about the Coast Guard station, the lighthouse, the museum, and when you talk to people who come and visit here, these are the things they remember. So thank you for preserving our history and moving it into the future in a very fine way.
Can I just say two more things? One is a question. Is that visitors number, is that for the museum or all the sites?
That's just for the museum.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Johnson Heritage Post, we
Johnson
get
Heritage
thousands of
Post was
visitors.
About 15,000 last year. We
Yeah.
haven't tallied this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's a different, all the exhibits switch over every month, and then all the events.
And then the other thing too is that we went viral this year on social media. There was a influencer that came to the county, Jen Hatmaker,
Yeah.
and she gave a huge shout out to the museum, talked about it for 15-20 minutes.
She had a great harbor tour.
She went on the harbor tour with Tyler, and she just was loved it, brought her to tears. She was so happy, and I was getting text messages from all over the state of Minnesota and the United States of like, did you see Jen? She just totally talked about the museum. And I had no idea who she was at the time, but now I do. And so that also got a lot of community members excited too, who follow her, and so that was really good as well. So thank you for having us, and we're always available if you have anything else.
It's probably too early to talk Coast Guard Station talk.
We can talk
We
about
can
it.
talk about that.
Yeah, what's the talk?
As far as I know, the process will be that eventually someday, hopefully in the next 5 years, the feds will sign it over to the city. It's supposed to revert back to them. The city will have a public comment period, or people can present their ideas. We have already told them that we are interested in it. We have plans from a number of years ago that for what we would like to do with the property, for turning it into a maritime exhibit and whatnot. We recently just had a group of students from the University of Minnesota come, and I believe James and Ann were at that meeting, and Katie, of talking with the students. They're architectural graduate students, and designing the space for it, plus a science piece, plus I don't know whatever else you talked about at that meeting. So we'll have some extra designs from them and ideas, which will be great. Currently, the leadership in Grand Portage is very supportive of us getting that space for a museum. So we do have other people in the community who are supportive of us getting that space and honoring it.
Great.
Focus
So-
of the presentation discussion was kind of just to get this, just a discussion started on what that space could be, not only that space, but maybe the whole area, but also that it's gonna have to be kind of a collaborative community event with everybody involved and a lot of feedback.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And Next in Nonprofits also knows sort of our long-term looking ahead. And so, again, working on raising our operating budget, and the state getting to know our faces and whatnot, so that when the time comes, we'll be able to get some funding to do something, because it will cost a huge chunk of change.
I was also going to ask just about opportunities that students in our community may have, or don't have and should have, or that kind of thing. Just what kind of programs or partnerships could be on the horizon, or what's currently happening.
I am open to anyone who wants to create something or look at something. This last year, we actually had a college student come and did an internship with us for 2 weeks. It's hard I have lots of ideas for teachers at the school, but they get bombarded with a lot of that as well.
And requirements.
Yeah, but open to any of that. Our push for Give to the Max Day is getting some money so that the museum can work with the Children's Press on getting kids to record oral histories with their grandparents or other elders. And so that's really exciting to have that. I have talked with Michael McHugh about one of the other things that happened last year that'll continue to happen, is that we partnered with the World Press Institute, and they brought up 10 international journalists they bring them over here for 9 weeks, and they go around the whole United States. And Graham Ray, it used to be Ely was their place to go for the rural, small town newspaper journalism, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But have switched due to the person who used to be in charge of that retiring, and no one else stepping in, and the director wanting to make a change. And so they came here last year, and it didn't work out with the school spring break. You know, all the students were gone, but would like to bring students into that who would be interested in international affairs or journalism or and you may ask, how did journalism and the Historical Society end up hooked up together? It's because I know the director, and he also felt that the history was really important for the journalists to learn. So they spent a day in Grand Portage, they spent a day at the museum, Forest Service. They did get to do some snowshoeing and other things, which was fun for the Kenyan and the Argentinian and whatnot. So that's how that came together. But more than willing to partner with people, but like I said, I throw ideas out there all the time, but it really takes those people who want to do it to come,
Yeah.
and we're welcome. We're open to that.
Aaliyah Markson has been trying to work with the schools too to start like an emerging artist program where she's tapping into the art students. So
Right.
it's quite taken off yet, but it's in the works.
And pre-pandemic, there were a lot of, field trips, and also Mila Horak brought her art students down and featured their work at the Johnson Heritage Post. So it's really nice to have youth art from the community that's featured, and that's been a really positive thing as well. And then these students from the University of Minnesota, the graduate students that we had an opportunity to speak with, are willing to come back to Grand Marais to present their projects to the community. So that provides a really exciting opportunity. But they're interested in looking at the historical value of the Coast Guard station, but also looking as to science and research, and maybe in the area of climate change. Because we have so many people that are interested in coming to the North Shore because of climate change, having some type of educational lab or research facility in that second story. So it'll be interesting to see what the students come up with, how they tie the past and the present together.
Some of those students had never been to Grand Marais before,
Right.
but I think they liked it.
Yeah, they wound up touring the whole harbor before they came for the presentation from Dick Gilliard, and just talked about the vision of Grand Marais for the future and how do we tie that past and all the history that's here. And it was really a great conversation. It was hard to end the evening. Nobody wanted to leave. Great conversations. Other questions? Commissioner
I
Storley.
have a question, but I have a comment. Katie mentioned an alliance, and the alliance is all our 4 historical societies. We have 2 presidents here right now. Commercial Fishing Museum, I'm president of that society. We include Chickawauk and the Heritage in Schroeder. So we have been meeting quite frequently, and we will for the next months until April, talking about how we can work together, what are some of the needs that we can all share, what are some of the areas that we are strong in and we would go our own way. But it's been very revealing to just get together in person and on Zoom to talk about various things that are going on, because it was out there. We just needed one person to coordinate it all. And so that's what we did, and look forward to a good conversation by the end of April. We're getting there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? I just want to thank you so much for your presentation and sharing with us all the good things you're doing in the community, your vision for the future, and I love the idea that you're anxious to get out and talk to our new legislators after November 8th. That will be a critical piece as we move forward with bonding, so thank you for thinking ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Take care. Thanks. All right, as we move on in our agenda, we have the minutes of our standing committees, both from personnel and our building committee. And again, April, thank you for catching us up with all of that. And given that, I believe it's time to adjourn.